you cannot have more space for cyclists unless you take away space for drivers. That is the simple reality. And the other reality, we know if you build space for cyclists, they will cycle on it. We've seen it with cycle lanes. The canal, the ones along the Grand Canal are the obvious example of that. Look, if you look at Copenhagen, where, by the way, in case you text in, there's more rain than there is in Dublin. Half of the population travel to work or school in Copenhagen by bike. In Dublin, it is a fraction of that. 15% of us use a bike once a week. I think it's 2.2% use it 5 times a week. So it's an absolutely tiny fraction. So there is huge potential to grow the number of cyclists. To do that, though, it has to be safe. You've got to have cycleways, and the only way of doing that is to take road space from cars.
I suppose one of the things that maybe I don't know, and maybe you do, Shane, I don't know, is what's the urban sprawl like in Copenhagen? Because one of the realities
it is definitely a denser population.
Yeah, because one of the realities we have is people travel long distances to Dublin to work there, and that's why they're in their cars, and they don't have the option of hopping on a bike.
Three quarters of commuters into Dublin live in Dublin. 3/4. So
we've had several texts this morning from women who are middle-aged and older saying that they can't cycle a bike, and I can see that they may have people who haven't been on a bike since they were a teenager 40 years earlier.
Nobody's saying everybody can cycle.
I think what we need to do before we do things like this, which is good, is we need to provide good public transport that is accessible to all, and we don't do that. And we know that public transport only will support carrying about 30 to 40% of the number of commuters that we have into the city. And this is kind of a cart before a horse. I don't believe that everyone's going to be able to cycle. Older people, women, people who are disabled, all that kind of stuff.
But Ciara, nobody's saying everybody be able to cycle. That's clearly not the case.
Yeah, but if you restrict the motorists, if you restrict road use, I'm not saying that's not a good idea, but I'm saying is give us some good bloody public transport before you keep hitting the motorists, because they don't have places to go. Not everyone will get on a bike.
You need to do everything together. And by the way, better public transport will also mean less road space.
Yeah, but everyone can use public transport if it's available. Not everyone can cycle.
We've also had loads of texts from people saying they can't use public transport. I mean, do we not do anything because a small number... by the way, if we have better public transport, if we've way more people cycling, and even with less road space, it will allow those who do absolutely have to drive to do so. There'll be more space for them.
What we probably also need to do is, because we've planned the city so badly and people are driving in from Tullamore and Dundalk and Gorey and places like that.
A quarter of commuters come from outside Dublin.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, but there's also 75%.
Considering how many people are coming.
There's also 75%, Ciara, who come from within Dublin.
Yeah, but hundreds of thousands of people
many of them
hundreds of thousands come from outside. You're going to have to provide things like park and rides and things like that, because otherwise people who cannot come on a bike from Gorey. I mean, we've designed this city and we've set up these problems for ourselves.